Welcome to People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose is a podcast of inspiring people whose stories help you see things differently, live with intentionality, elevate the way you participate in the world, and take the necessary leaps in your life to seek and find your passions. Come with us and develop the courage to wholeheartedly pursue your purpose and unleash your truest potential.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the People of Purpose podcast. I'm your guest host, Philip Louden, and today I have with me Ashur Ellis. Ashur is a world traveler, man of many different experiences, a student of life, and he is a connectivity coach. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what a connectivity coach means?
So I typically go by connection coach.
Connection.
Which either one, I really like alliteration, but it's about getting greater connection with yourself. So tuning into that inner voice, it's like, I want this, I want less of this. I want to go to that, get me away from that. And the reason for that is by listening, tuning into that inner voice, we get to be authentically the way we want to be in every moment. So that means with people, that means with making decisions, that means with interpersonally in your job, in any environment, you just get to behave exactly the way that you want to.
Interesting. How's that journey been for you of connecting to authenticity?
Well, the journey came because I spent so many years people pleasing. I spent so many years pretending that I was doing the thing I wanted, but didn't actually take any of the time to formulate the vision for what I wanted. So I'd say the biggest inflection point, the point where I was gone through this, I think I can teach other people to do this. Just in a relationship for 2.5 years and 3 years in total, but about 2.5 years of it, I was like, that's right, but I must just have commitment problems because I'm a man. It must just be this. It must just be this. And really, I just wasn't listening to myself. And I was fulfilling her vision. She had a beautiful dream. She was clear about it. And in absence of my own, I fulfilled hers. And so 6 months into the relationship, I was like, okay, I started not sleeping well. And I had insomnia for pretty much 2 years. And then I started making adjustments. I started saying, hey, I'm not sure this is my dream. What can we do? And I tried to make the changes within the relationship, and for whatever reason, it was not compatible with our relationship and the dream. So it required me to break out of it. And once I made the change from the relationship, I slept the next day. Literally the day after I moved down, chaotic stress subsided, I went to bed. And I was like, okay, I will never not listen to that internal voice again.
What do you think it was? What do you think the insomnia was telling you, or what do you think that was?
It's just like, it's that voice that's saying, this isn't what you want to be doing. And the insomnia was just like, listen. Let me keep poking. It's more internal poking. It's like, let me keep poking and telling you that there are other ways to be. And I don't think it's that I needed to not be in that relationship explicitly. I wasn't listening. And then when I started trying to listen, because of other circumstances, the relationship was not compatible, but it was just telling me to listen.
Well, what are some things that you've been learning as you're going through being a connection coach and connecting people back to their authenticity? What are you learning about people and authenticity?
One, people are really, really effective at stifling that voice. And it's because the desire for attachment or connection or whatever we think we need to do to be loved is so much louder. So one is people, sometimes it takes hours for someone to even be like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. This thing that someone desires aren't even aware that it's possible because our desire for attachment is so loud. And so one is our ability to stifle our authenticity for fear of losing attachment is very strong in a lot of people.
Yeah. It's challenging to show up truly as an authentic person. Something that I know for myself, based off the people I'm around is where authenticity comes from sometimes. I'm around people I'm very comfortable with, more and more authenticity comes out. And even as I deepen my relationship and with my partner, I become more authentic. The self that I remember from childhood as well. So it's interesting to watch the layers come off based off the people I'm around.
Totally. It's so hard. And it's funny because in certain contexts, it's even harder around the people we love because the love that could be lost feels greater. Someone responded to a social media post and they were just, okay, I get what you're saying, but what are the quick steps? And I was realizing, how do I say it? And I was like, slow down. If someone asks something of you in a moment, a lot of time that inauthentic response comes from a place of reactivity. Like, hey, do you want to go to coffee? Yeah, sure. Wait, no, I don't want coffee. And if you just slow down, you realize that no is not particularly threatening. It's not particularly otherizing. It doesn't mean I don't ever want to be around you. It simply is what's desired at that moment. But yeah, Phil, it's hard. It's really, really hard. to listen to yourself when there are other competing factors. And that's why the number one thing is just slow down. I remember we were talking about the Philippines earlier, but I had the major moment for me is I was in a Filipino bus station and all these people were yelling. They were like, get on my bus, get on my bus, get on my bus. And I was like, oh, wait. And I put my bag down and I sat down and I was like, no. And then they kept talking, but there was just a bubble around me. And I think I missed my bus and had to wait 30 more minutes or whatever. But it was just this moment of like, oh wait, I actually can just slow down. And so one of the exercises that I do with people pretty frequently, you know, people use visualization for all sorts of things. But just visualize this bubble that's around you. But specifically when someone asks something of you, let it hit the bubble first. And once it hits the bubble, you can decide when you want to look at it. Because so often the experience I had is, especially in the really intense, deep processing conversations with my previous partner that I was describing, she would ask something and it would like hit me in the chest. You know, like, do you want to go to this thing? Or like we were having conversations of like marriage and children and sometimes it would like hit me here. Oh, I have to respond. How do I respond? And instead if I'm like, marriage, children, how does that sound? Well, actually, I like the way that looks. What else does it bring? Oh, it makes me kind of nervous too. Like, okay, this is what I can say about it now. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, interesting. And also slowing down is such an interesting idea also, because like someone just says, how are you? Right? And it's like, great, fine, wonderful. And it's like, well, how are you? When we take the time to actually slow down, well, this is happening and this is happening, and now you're in a real conversation rather than just a reactive type of conversation.
Just laugh, because if you and I sat down, that might be a 30-minute question. And that is one of the experiences that people have a lot with me. I have been talking to a lot of people recently. I joined this particular coaching community and I'm in so many calls recently. And people would be like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, well, I feel a little tired at the moment. I feel like I'm settling into being here with you. And they're just like, oh, okay. And these are people who talk to people professionally. So yeah, I'm with it. The slowing down is like, in this wild life I've led, I've like swung when I went from being inauthentic or feel like I was faking it to radical honesty. And now I'm somewhere in what feels a healthy medium. The way over here is like, when someone asks me how I am, I don't need to make it into a big deal every time. And I think when it first swung over, I was like, if I'm not interested in having a long conversation, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm doing well at this moment. And I won't say any more. It's not a reactive response, but it's not going to be this long,
every time
drawn out thing.
Yeah, but it's interesting because if you do, when you do take the moment to like, again, now you're like being the presence. And there's like, there's a time where I just go, I'm not present at all for long periods of time, and I'm catching myself like, oh, like, okay, oh yeah, I'm back in like actual moment, now in my head thinking all the thoughts about the things that are happening. Because I think since someone takes the time to like authentically answer a question, it allows space for the real connection. Because you know that doesn't happen all the time. And I also understand at a certain point, probably don't ask how he's doing. Be careful. You're
like when you're talking about this presence thing, it is kind of wild because not every moment is joyful or angry or sad or lonely, or like some moments are just like, yeah, I'm here. So sometimes I say something that's just, I'm being honest. Like I don't feel mad, I don't feel lonely. I'm here, and it doesn't need a lot more explanation, but it is tapped into presence, and it doesn't need that many more words.
Yeah, I feel like in my life I like to get really fast. And so like there's like the quote that like the most challenging thing for man is just to like sit alone in silence for like an hour. It's like for me, I know as like a creator, so I like stimulus, and so I'm constantly like creating. It's just nice to have like people that bring me back to that presence rather than me to like lost in the vortex of it. And it's not like, it's fun, I enjoy it, but it's like coming back to that like that presence and that stillness.
Like, is there a voice that fuels the like constant create, like build this, do this? I mean, you are a powerful, proficient builder. There's no doubt there, but is there a voice that fuels it that says like,
it's not like a bad voice. There's no like, you're not good enough, like do this thing. And I've also grown through things as well. I used to want results immediately, and I'm learning to play life in decades and really develop the skills that I enjoy. I just enjoy taking on a lot. I like taking on a lot. I like doing a lot. And one of my biggest challenges in life is I oftentimes like take on too much, and it's just not very possible for me to like fill in all the things I want to take on. So some things fall to the side. So I've learned through that in the past like decades of my life. It's not like bad voice. It's not like you're not good enough. It's just
I didn't say bad voice.
Yeah.
I said, what is the voice?
It's more of just like, I would say it's more like a dopamine addiction of sorts as well as a part of it. Because there is a lot of like stimulus. And I find myself when I'm creating a lot, I'm building out a course right now, like a program, and I'm bringing people through. And I really want to start getting clients and getting sales and bringing people in so I can start supporting them and get some success stories. And that desire for that result can drive me to go very fast to get there. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's not really necessarily a void. It's more of a desired sensation.
Hearing you share that, it makes me think about the distinction between, like, I keep thinking about the difference between urgency or like intuition and impulse. And I describe impulse as like hot. Impulse feels hot. Impulse has urgency to it. It's like, you need to do this. Like, and this, I'm talking about the voice in me that's like, now you need to do this, and then you need to do this. And then intuition that can, like, it's cooler. It's like slower. Hey, are you going to build this thing? This is a good idea. And then 2 days will go by and I'll be like, yeah, I think I should build that thing. And then 2 more days will go by and I'll be like, yeah, I think I want to build that thing. And then one day the engine will be lit and I'll go and I'll build. But it's different than the way that some of these social media posts have come out of me, where it's just like, I need more attention, or I need this, like, and there's a heat to it. And I'm not judging. They both have their space, but I know urgency leaves me feeling depleted. When I give in to my impulse, I feel depleted in the end. And when I give in to my intuition, I feel charged. Like, building something huge that takes hours is fine when it's driven by my intuition. Whereas when I do something based on impulse, I tend to get it done, and I tend to do a really good job.
Interesting. I feel like on my journey in creation is like seeing how much I can take on, and then eventually I burn myself out, and then I take a break, and then I come back. So it's a combination, because I feel also fired up as well.
Phil, I see in you a parallel journey to some of the things. That's why we've done a lot of things in a lot of places. Maybe this is it. Let me try. Maybe this is it. Let me try. I feel that's part of what led me to here. You know, like you said, world travel, you said these other things, but high school teacher, founded a startup, used to build off-grid homes in Northern California and then Hawaii. Then I was teaching drama as a form of trauma healing to adults, just like all cool, but it was fast. It was all fast. And this, for the first time, I'm like, oh, when I'm 45, what do I want to be doing? Oh, when I'm 55, what do I want to be doing? 65, yeah, I still want to be doing this. For the first time, maybe it took me 35 years, but for the first time, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm moving in that. That's the right direction. I want to keep one foot in front of it. There's like intuition to it rather than an impulse. I'm really accustomed to explosive drive by impulse. And this feels new.
Yeah, it's definitely a parallel journey. So, yeah, me, like, just learning how to, like, I'd say playing deck is just very similar.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just like, you know, we're constantly going to be walking through life, and what are the skill sets that I desire to develop, and like what do I enjoy doing, and how can I align everything I do with like creating the impact in the world that I want to create. And then just like keep going in that direction, and like be okay with like going at steady and slow and like marathon speed, so that I can continue. Because impact just happens like over time, you know, like it's constantly just staying in a direction. And just imagine like staying in one area for 10 years, how much depth there's going to be to your knowledge in that space.
Totally. 10 years, it's the next big chunk for me. I mean, I say this and I'm like, I come to see my family every year for Thanksgiving. Like, I'm here no matter where I am in the world. And then the day after Thanksgiving, I leave and I go to El Salvador for a week. And then I go to Mexico for 3 months. And then I go to Australia. So I'm saying all this stuff. And then I'm bobbing around doing things. Yeah, it takes time to let it settle in.
Yeah. How do you see your practice evolving?
So beautifully. And the element of it is humility. Like I've been doing circling, this particular practice, for the last 7 years or so. And I did it with a particular group. And now I just signed up for this year-long course, and I actually have a retreat this weekend with them. It's year-long. It's like 8 weekends over the next year, and 4 opportunities to practice every week. So it's really intense. And I started doing it, and I was like, yeah, I know how to do this. And it's basically exploring what it's like to exist with another person. How do I stay with me while being here with you? And the first weekend kicked my ass. I thought I was so good at it. And it's just like, it's not something to be good at. They basically pointed out to me, some people, that there was a little bit of me having an agenda, guiding them to a place. And part of that is I took all the years that I learned to be a people pleaser, all the years that I learned how to tell people the things they wanted to hear. And I can see if someone's feeling something, and I can kind of like guide them to that place. And this practice is about just being with what's there. So rather than driving to that particular place, actually creating sovereign, like, interdependence with the person. Like, I'm here, I'm good. Well, you're there. What's it like to be you? Staying sovereign with yourself while being with another. And yeah, so I'm deepening in my practice because my sovereignty is increasing, like, a lot. And then my capacity to genuinely explore what it's like for the other person, now that I feel grounded in me. Yeah. Does that make sense? It made sense to me. Yeah. There was something that came up like a moment ago that I was thinking about. If I go around saying, like, I'm going to help you do whatever you want, and I'm thinking about the work that you do, I'm thinking about the name of this podcast, there's some notion that if everyone goes around being more selfish, doing the thing that they do, be a really horrible world. And I'm not saying that you have that idea or anything, but that idea definitely persists. Like if I'm going around encouraging people to do exactly what they want to do, you're going to have more, possibly more harm in the world. More selfishness might mean more harm. And it just occurs to me that it takes time. If you ask someone if they want to do, the impulse answer might be something that could cause more harm. The example that I'm thinking of, I was talking to a client a few weeks ago. They went to a wedding with their partner, and at the wedding they were seated next to someone who they've known for years, who they've always wanted to flirt with. And he sat there, basically unsure what to do. He desired to flirt with this person, but he didn't want his partner to see him flirting with this person, and he felt guilty about wanting to flirt with this person, and he just sat there in the space of indecision. And in the end, his partner reflected, you didn't really talk to me the whole wedding. It kind of seemed like you were interested in talking to this person, but you didn't do that either. Like, what? You're like, and he kind of was just like, yeah, I don't know. I was just off. Then after an hour and a half with me, he was eventually like, well, I just really wanted to flirt. And that took an hour and a half to arrive at that. But the impulse in him is like, I want this validation. I want this attention. I want to flirt. If you pause with that, then it's actually the pure thing to desire. You just, from that place of purity, you get to actually decide from a place of autonomy, sovereignty, and choice what you want to do. From that position, he could turn to his partner and say, hey, I'd really like to flirt with this person. How do you feel about that? He could totally hide it from his partner. He could decide not to engage with it at all for potential harm, but he gets to decide from a place of sovereignty what he wants. And when we spent another hour together, he was basically like, oh, yeah, I definitely don't want to compromise my relationship with that flirtation. So all the energy around I need to had dissipated. And from that place, he was like, I think my partner would have actually been totally fine if I just said I wanted to kind of engage in this flirty interaction with this person that he's known for years and never had closeness with. But the point is, if you pause and you choose from a place of what you ultimately desire, kind of with this did you say planning in decades? Playing? Yeah, kind of like playing in decades. He's like, there's no way this one interaction is worth this relationship. Yeah. But I also don't have to stifle this completely. And so he was like, next time he thinks he would turn to his partner, have that conversation. If it was a particular trigger or pain, he would probably choose not to do it. But he felt calm because he could slow down and he could think about, what do I actually desire? And that's the place I'm talking about. And not following impulse.
And that slowness and intention about what do I actually desire? Because I feel like I'm in the real estate space. A lot of people who do real estate, I don't think they know where they're going. In my own life, I also do I know where I'm going? And it's taken a lot of time to be really honest about what I actually desire in my life. And I'm still shedding layers of, is this what I desire? Is this what my ego desires? Is this what I truly want? Or what do I actually want my life to look like? So you get caught in what I think I want to look like. Yeah, I love it. So slowness and connection back to oneself, and then asking the question of what do I actually want here?
And it can change. It can at this moment, he doesn't want to compromise this relationship for this. And at the next wedding, that can shift. Actually, engaging in this is more important to me. And he will pay the consequences. I mean, that's in the masculine, feminine work I do at the polarity. That's part of what it means to be masculine. To be grounded in your masculine is to accept the consequences of your actions. To be grounded and responsible for the consequences. And if that means that you're going to choose to flirt over honor this relationship, or even not even talk about what the consequences would be in this relationship, then you'll accept those consequences. Yeah.
If you decide to flirt, you would probably talk to your partner, because that would be the authentic and honest thing for your relationship.
Right. If I asked him, do you want to just hide that from your partner? Is that what you want? Even if you don't want to be with your partner, is that how you want to show up? His answer is no, absolutely not. From that place of impulse, well, if I just hide it, it won't do any harm. But no, you lose aliveness. You compromise yourself. You yeah, that's the part that I can't do. Is compromise myself. It might bring up discomfort if you turn to your partner and you're like, hey, can we go over here and chat? I have this desire to do this thing. Your partner might get really upset, but it's owning that too.
Yeah. I feel like that keeps the channels clear, because if you just lie to yourself or you suppress your actual desires, it's going to come out in unhealthy ways. This is about crucial conversations. You know this book?
No.
It's about how to have conversations when the stakes are high. And I was actually gifted this book by a guy that was working with us when we were in a business in Bali, and there's this guy that came and worked for us for a while, and he left. And he was like, Phil, you need to read this book. So I was like, so bad. I would just bottle up, like I wouldn't have the crucial conversations. I would bottle it up and it would come out in like really unhealthy ways. I didn't know how to have challenging conversations. It was what was modeled for me as a kid. I didn't know how to express myself with the challenging things. Crucial conversations had a framework, and the framework is like how to have these challenging conversations. So for myself, I noticed that when I'll share with somebody and I'm in close quarters with, they'll come out in passive aggressive ways. I'll say a remark that's kind of like a little snarky or something. And I notice this about myself. And now I notice when I start being passive aggressive towards somebody, it's time for a crucial conversation. And that's you to put up a space to have that conversation. You set a mutual goal. You ask for permission to share, and you share in a non-violent way of just like, this is how I've been my experience recently, and allow for the other person to do the same. And it creates a space to allow for like, all the things to come out. And every single time I do one of those afterwards, I feel super clean. It feels like my channel's been cleaned again. So all the stuff that I've been storing inside, even sometimes I don't even know what it is. It's just like pushed up. But I know it's there because it's coming out in passive aggressivity, right? So I know it's there, and it just allows me to like to clear out that channel and have that conversation to get back on the same page with that person.
Totally. I mean, as you were describing connection, like connectivity, you come out feeling clean and connected. Connection can happen over anger and sadness and madness and loneliness. You don't have to emerge from those conversations loving each other, or I would say conditionally loving each other or loving the outcome, but you can still feel more connected. If you express to someone like, hey, I feel a lot of anger towards you. This is how the anger is impacting me. And then you stay for the impact. How does hearing that I'm angry impact you? We don't have to resolve the actual circumstances in order to feel connected. Obviously, if we're negotiating something, it's ideal to come to arrive at an outcome. But connection can come in a space that still has sadness, anger, upset, discontent, disappointment, expectation. But it's like when you said the channels are clean. That's one of the most profound things I've experienced. Is I've been in this particularly happens in circling, but I've been in these circles with people where I've been like, wow, I realize when you're saying that, I'm having trouble paying attention. I'm feeling distance from you. I'm feeling like I don't like you. I feel triggered by you. I feel like, what is that? And it's not that by the end I'm like, I want to hang out all the time. All of a sudden I feel let into their world and I feel really connected. It doesn't mean I want to hang out with them. There are way too many people out there to like everyone. But connection is available between you and anyone. Literally anyone.
Yeah. I like that. Those are all these doing. You guys have any questions you want to bring in?
I am so curious just to hear more stories about Patrick. Because I know they're infinite stories, but like stories that really bring you joy to share, or that you wish you could talk about more, or you wish people asked you more about, like this part of your life that was so impactful, but you never really bring it up or anything like that.
Well, you saying that, just two things came to mind. I think the first is maybe more because I've been came up earlier in a conversation here and I hadn't expressed it at that time. I feel really proud of myself. Really recently, I did something that was not the Zen thing to do. It didn't look good for me to do it. And it was just around being authentic, but also enforcing a boundary. I had this boundary around this previous partner, and in the transition out, I left a bunch of possessions there. I wrote up a contract that said, these are all the possessions that I'm planning to come back. And I mean, on there was all the Hue light bulbs that I installed in the house, where a whole bunch of things, all my tools, all these things, and some that came from this impulse, intense feeling. And I checked back in with her a year post relationship, and I was like, hey, I'm still planning to have these things, but I don't live in my own house that needs these things. You still live in this house where these are your light bulbs, and she was like, yeah, when it's time, let me know. And I was like, great, thank you. This is so clean and clear and wonderful. Another year went by, and I was like, oh, the desire for those light bulbs, and it melted away. But there were 2 kayaks. I love kayaking, and there were 2 really nice kayaks that were on that list that I still expressed a desire for. And I recently wrote a thing that was like, hey, can I get those? I found someone who liked the kayaks, or can I get them back? And she had a very negative response. How the hell do you think you can ask for these things back? It's been 2 years. I've told people you want them and they think you're crazy. And I noticed that if I let them go, I felt angry. There was resentment. But if I held this boundary that wasn't like, I'm going to sneak over at night and get them, but was just like, well, no, those are mine. If I held the boundary, I didn't feel angry at all. I felt clear. And the options I allowed for, I was like, you can buy them from me. And they were $2,000 something kayaks. They were very expensive kayaks. And I was like, you can buy them from me anywhere between $100 and $600. Very flexible. I can have someone else buy them and they can come pick them up, or I can come pick them up. Like any of these choices. And it took 3 months of me just being like, hey, I want to check in. I think you've been ignoring all of my calls. But I just like, this is my boundary. And I just like persistently, and I noticed anger wasn't there. And it looked really bad. And I went up to Mendocino at one point, and I was told I wasn't allowed on her property, and I was like, okay. Then I asked a friend to go get them, and then I was told that my friend wasn't allowed to come on her property because she was trying to repair a relationship with him. And then I hired a stranger to go get them. And even though that turned out really poorly, she didn't answer the phone when he was there, and he was waiting outside her house. It was all very messy. But the whole time I didn't feel resentment anymore.
Really?
And I actually feel clear. I got way less money for them than they're worth. Like, didn't turn out ideal. I got uninvited from a birthday party. All these things happened, but I actually feel clear. And it's an instance of me enforcing my boundary feels clear and safe to me. It's not enforced out of anger. It's just a boundary. But it did not look zen. All my friends were like, why? Just let it go. A friend even pulled out $200 and was like, I'll give you $200 to let it go. And I was like, wow, that's nice of you. No, it could take the next 6 months. And I imagine if it took another 9 months or something, there might have been a point at which I naturally let go. But I was just cluing into the part of me that letting go wasn't an option at the moment. Maybe another month it was, like, I don't know. But like hue light bulbs, I didn't will it away. I was like, I don't hate my light bulb. It naturally went away.
I feel like that's a challenging situation to not feel resentment.
Yeah, it was really amazing to notice that if I enforced this boundary, the anger and resentment wasn't there. And if I did the Zen thing, if I didn't mention it again, there was a lot of resentment. Yeah, it's not good interpersonally at the moment. Terrible relating. I was asked to never reach out or not even come to her part of the country again. Yeah, not well. And then for some reason, when you said that, other thing that did really come to mind, it's like isn't in my work as a connection coach or slightly outside of that, but I've been doing a lot of in the circling, and I've been doing more men's work. I noticed just this really intense, a lot of my clients tend to be women who are experiencing rage, who don't get to express rage to men. And for some reason, I hold this really wide container for women expressing a lot of rage towards men. And I hold it well. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That feels good to me and okay. And I kept doing over that. And then I noticed something, and I feel really proud and also really sad. I noticed that I very rarely trust men too. And so recently in my work, there's almost no man that is older than me who I trust. And so I'm looking for like older mentor, like elder men. And I know they're out there. And yeah, it's an interesting trust. Like I can look at you and I can look at like someone who I see as a peer, and it feels like we're just like doing our thing together. But I deeply want a man that can hold me, and I don't know who that is. And it's not trust like they're going to do something nefarious. It's not like older men are going to do, although there is kind of a feeling of that actually. But it's not like that with everyone. It's a trust that they can take care of themselves and care for me. There's this idea that if they try to take care of me or hold me, they'll collapse. That older man can't care for himself. That's what came to mind when you said that. And there's so many intense childhood narratives as to why that is, about my own father not being present in the ways that I desired. And I can see that the psychodynamic like narrative is there. I get it. It is necessary to know. It is not sufficient. Now I get to be with that. And so I'm looking. I just went to a men's group last week and I was like, hey, any of you men over 60 hold space for rage? And they were kind of, I was like, okay, maybe not here. Or maybe.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, the space of the elder is a really important space.
Man, I think our generation is going to do a good service. When I'm old, I'm going to be like grounded.
It's going to be super cool to be an elder.
I'm going to be like ready. Yeah, I'm going to be like ready to receive some young men and be like, yeah, no, I see you doing that. Like, you're good. Keep feeling that. Like, I'm building my capacity, but I realize we got kind of screwed generationally. And this is not to speak to like your family history in particular, or anyone's in particular, but just like our parents' generation amongst men were not, they held a lot, but they didn't necessarily hold themselves. It's what I see a lot. And I'm talking about my own family history, but the importance of holding the family is like paramount. And so remembering like you're a part of that family or your well-being is essential to being in that family, I think is something that got ignored in large part. This is not based on, well, it could be based on statistics. There are very high rates of suicide amongst older, in particular white men in this country. So it could be based on statistics, but I'm talking about anecdotal evidence of the people who are between 25 and 40 who I encounter who are an older man that I know of that like feels really grounded to me.
Yeah, I feel like I grew up like I didn't really have elders in my life when I was growing up. I feel that's such like an important role. They're the wisdom keepers, you know, the ones that have the experience and they pass it down.
Totally. I mean, what you guys are doing here, it's counter the vision of like, hey, let's generate wealth and create a suburban home that is a single nuclear family home. And, you know, the single family home keeps you from having to be in community, you know, having to deal in community, having to confront in community. Like what you guys are doing here, multiple people, like the space for elder to be there to hold things increases tremendously.
Yeah, it's great.
Because you have to confront whatever you confront in community.
Yeah, elder show up. I mean, that's our biggest thing is like in community. And for me, like eventually generational living within communities and like neighborhoods of awesome, inspiring people of different generations. And that's like the ultimate vision. Yeah.
It's dope.
Cool. We were talking, I want to get back to the idea of, we spoke on the phone the other day and you were talking about how like, it's just like the walking through life, like, and not, there really isn't anywhere exactly to go. And I think that's such an interesting concept and idea to come back to. And I'd love to like.
I'm just reminded of a circle that I was in a month ago or so. So these circles, again, it's an invitation. It's an intimate invitation to be with what is in space with other people. So you're just like sitting there and maybe a topic comes up, maybe it doesn't, but you're just like, this is what I notice in my body, this is what I notice, this is what I'm perceiving about yours. Like, and we had this circle where I was just, I don't even know how to describe this, but I was like watching someone exist and they were having waves of like sadness and joy and pain all in like this short period of time. And I just had this profoundly disorienting feeling. And it's the one that reminds me of like, if I just sit with like what it's like to be alive, it's like so wildly overwhelming. If I don't have something that I'm doing or somewhere I'm trying to go, like it's just like all these smells and sensations and lights and judgments and desires, all these things we don't want, things we do want. And like, if I think of the experience of being alive, I have an embodied experience. It's just kind of like, okay, like what am I doing? Yeah, and like, yeah, that may not have been a direct answer to anything you just said, but it's like, yeah, what are we doing here? Someone brought up legacy to me the other day. And we've had conversations about legacy. And I kind of shocked them because I don't have much of a relationship to legacy.
Legacy means you.
I would like people to be present to their lives, mostly enjoy their lives, but really just like be present to what's transpiring in their life. And if I can encourage that in my lifetime, awesome. And that's kind of it. Like there's not like I don't have children. If I had children, it might be a different narrative. And the idea of having children sounds really awesome to me. But at this moment, there's not like, I need to do this for the future generation. It feels like a really selfish focus. But it's not just like, I need to be better. I need to clear this channel as thoroughly as I can. So whatever this existence is or means flows through me the way that this particular iteration flows. And when I die, hopefully people's channels are more clear as a result of playing with me. But I don't know, having a profound impact or living this lasting legacy, just that sounds fine to me, but it doesn't drive me. It is not my like engine or motor or direction. And when I said that to the person, they were shocked. And so I've been thinking about it since, and I'm like, okay, let me keep investigating. Like, am I missing something? Is there a blind spot? I don't know. I want like your deepest, darkest impression, like
Of legacy?
of
Or
what I
just, like,
said.
I think different things hit for different people. I feel a lot of legacy like comes from like an ego drive, like the desire to be remembered and desire to have an impact. I mean, at the deepest level, like have statues made of you and you never forgot. But that's like where that's where legacy reminds me of. I don't really have too much need for legacy. For me, it's more about just like playing the game of life really well and like reaching my highest potential and like showing up and like living and like truly being alive. That for me is like much more important than like, I mean, yeah, I want to like ideally leave behind like a better future for my like descendants. I would like for people that my kids and my grandkids to like grow up in a way where they learn the rules of life from a very young age, and they're able to create freedom. And also match freedom with gratitude, because without gratitude, freedom doesn't matter, because if you're not grateful for it, then you don't even realize it's there. But I have so much more freedom than someone who's working like 10 hours a day in a factory. And if I remind myself of so much to be grateful for, then it doesn't matter, because it's
funny. I actually totally agree with you. Like, in hearing your response, I had a reflection that maybe mine sounds like I'm just hedonistic and just want to like, chill. But I actually really agree with you. I just think the means for that for me is clearing this out as thoroughly as possible and just being me as thoroughly as I can possibly be. But it's for that same outcome. You know, recently I was thinking about my relationship to wealth, and I was like, how much money do I want? And I want enough money to buy myself, all the people I love and know, and all the strangers I encounter, anything I want, when I want, without hesitation.
freedom.
When I say that, for some people it could mean like a Range Rover and a Rolex. For me, it doesn't mean those things. It just means like, I want to pay for dinner for that table and that table. No problem. If I need to get new tires in my car, hey, pay for that woman's tires too. Yeah, and that just feels like a natural extension of what I want. But that again is me being selfish, clearing this channel out, because this is how this channel wants to be in the world. Yeah, so maybe if that's a legacy,
I think when you're clearing out, for me, is like when you clear your internal state, you also clear out like any limitations that you might have. I feel like limitations is what's like holding people back from like creating wealth and freedom, because like they believe that like it's evil or it's bad, or that they don't deserve it, or that they can't have it, and they have all these like roadblocks in the way. Yeah, I like it. Clearing out.
pretty fun in this vessel.
Yeah, cool. So what would you say you're talking about your purpose a lot? From People of Purpose podcast, so is there any other thoughts on purpose?
You know, when I made my event production company, it was called Eyes Open Events, and the catchphrase was "Be with what is." And I keep going back, and I actually think that's still what I want to do. Is
what is
for me, for you, for everyone around me. At any moment, if I can invite people into greater presence with what is, from that place you can change your circumstance. But like awareness, acceptance, action. And it goes in that order. Be aware of what's happening. See it for what it is. Accept that that is what's happening or has happened. And then action. Change whatever it is that you desire. But that first step is being with what is. And so often, what I see is someone, the guy at the wedding, or people who have a limitation or roadblock. There's not full acceptance. If I can invite more people to be in close, intimate relationship with what is, and then hold a space for them to make whatever changes they want, that is what I want to do. And I think the reason why I call it connection coaching or authenticity coaching, or the thing is because I'm focused on is like, what is the thing that's in you that's saying, go here, don't do this, do this. And I keep using that basic language because I think the body uses very simple language. The body's just like, more of this, less of this, like get me away from here, get me closer to this. And if you can listen to that, then you're just getting in closer connection with what is. And from there you can choose what to do. And what a cool place if everyone could act, had the freedom you were describing to act from that place. Yeah. But it does take slowing down. When I say these things, I'm like, oh my God, if someone takes this recording and just does that clip, I'm going to show up on some thing that I don't agree with that promotes like misogyny and men doing the things that they want and taking power. And I mean, slow down and see if you actually want to harm that person, because you probably don't. I pretty much don't think anyone wants to.
Slowing down.
Yeah, so slowing down is like, don't take it out of context. Yeah.
That's my big takeaway from this talk, just slowing down. So it's a great reminder for myself, because I love playing the game of life, and I love showing up and doing, but slowing down and being like the way I show up with. Yeah.
Well, I dig having you in my life, so I know if there's something I need to do, I'm like, how do I do that? Right. Yeah, I was looking at this and this and this, and I have no idea how to do it. And you're like, oh, just try this.
I love taking action and doing things a lot.
Yeah.
And then, but also, it doesn't matter if I don't like enjoy the journey of where I am. Like even our house, where we're living, we have a startup house. We've been here for a few years, and like Tanner's having a baby in Thailand, and Bryce is getting married. I'm engaged. Like, things are evolving. And it's like, wow, like this life is happening and things are evolving. And like, 5 years from now, I'll look back and be like, wow, those are freaking awesome times. We had a podcast studio in the basement, and we had these Dharma house parties and gatherings and everything else. And then we'll still have the gatherings. But it's just like,
it's a ton of community.
Yeah.
And I think why we do community.
Yeah. And I think back to like Thailand when I was just starting with my first businesses. We had a startup house and we were living in Chiang Mai, and just at the time it was just still driving me a lot. But the experience was amazing. It's easy to miss. Because it's always like, my experience of life is there's always things to do and that are happening. It's usually pretty cool.
as you're describing that, I'm literally having a kinesthetic image of like, if you walk fast, if you're not paying that close of attention, and when you lift your foot, there's a lot of twitching and moving, but in reality, there's just going to be another step. And so if you lift this foot, there's a lot of twitching and moving, but it's just another step. And it's all the startup house in Chiang Mai, maybe we should do this, maybe those are all just the twitches, just taking this step in a particular direction. My being a high school teacher, my studying philosophy and neuroscience and almost becoming a doctor, like how is that in relationship to that? Totally related to what I'm doing now. But the 6 times that I switched majors and couldn't decide, just twitches, and then my foot set down somewhere. And there's a point at which, okay, it's pivoting slightly this direction.
And it all kind of comes together also, which is the cool thing. Like,
and then we die.
And we then we go on, and then we got to do the next step, and there's kids, most likely.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's a wild journey.
It's so fun to grow old next to you, like parallel to you.
Yeah, let's grow old, man. I feel like we have very cool journeys. I feel like we have different philosophical views, and also this very similar that I enjoy talking.
We do. We have fun. We see the world very differently in some very fundamental ways.
Yeah, but also the capacity to see it the same way.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're the same way also. We have different views at the same time. I feel like, I understand that perspective.
Tell me more, because I don't get, that's not the way I see it. Tell me more. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on. Yeah, this is, we'll come back when we're both back in Kansas City and do another one.
Even right now, we got cool stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got our Shabbos. Cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. Audience, thank you for being out there. All the people. And it's Philip Louden Ashur.
Yeah.
See you guys next time.
If you're interested in hearing more about what I do, please tune in my Instagram, Ashur Ellis, ASHURELLIS.
Cool. Yeah, check out Ashur. He's doing some really cool stuff. And,
Making way too many videos about it.
and there's going to be a lot of videos about it, so you can check it out. But I just really think it's the cornerstone of living a good life. Is being present and connecting to yourself and connecting to others. So I think you're doing the good work.
Welcome to
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose is a podcast of inspiring people whose stories help you see things differently, live with intentionality, elevate the way you participate in the world, and take the necessary leaps in your life to seek and find your passions. Come with us and develop the courage to wholeheartedly pursue your purpose and unleash your truest potential.